People have asked me, hey, you work for so long, 35 years with the airlines, and can you tell us something about the pilots and the cabin crew, the difference between these two sections, and do they get along and so forth? Well, it's quite interesting actually. Yeah. So I'm making this video in response to those questions. In Singapore Airlines or SIA, the pilots they come under a different division from the cabin crew. Cabin crew has a divisional head called the Senior Vice President of Cabin Crew. Then the pilots have got the Flight Operations Senior Vice President. So they both have different divisions and both have different uh, uh, SVP or Senior Vice President. Some airlines, they combine both. So cabin crew and pilot comes under one head, but not in SIA. SIA is a big airline, so I think it's proper that they divide into two. Unlike in the old days when we were a small airlines, yes, we come under the flight operations division or department then. So if there is a dispute between the cabin crew and the pilots, the cabin crew in-flight manager will be answerable to the SVP cabin crew, and the pilots will be answerable to their flight operations or flight ops SVP. But during flight, as far as operational matter is concerned, like emergencies, the captain will be the overall in charge, the man in charge. Uh, but when it comes to day-to-day running of the services, then the the in-flight manager will be in charge of the in-flight service and the cabin crew, and the captain will be in charge of the pilots in the cockpit. Um, Today is much easier because you only have two pilots, the captain and the first officer on the flight. Unless they are double crewing on long flights, then they probably have four crew or more or three crew. But usually the cockpit or the pilots or the technical crew and the cabin crew, they can get along quite well. But usually, if there's a dispute, usually it's because of food and drink. So you ask any flight attendants of any airlines, and most of them will tell you that the the conflict cabin crew or flight attendants have with the pilots will always be, or most of the time will be on because of food and drinks. Why? Because the pilots feel that the cabin crew are employed not only to serve the passengers, but to serve the pilots too. But I think this is a wrong thinking. The cabin crew is employed to serve the passengers and not the pilots. But because they are on board the cabin crew, they can also serve the pilots when the pilots are hungry. So to avoid all this dispute, uh, whether they can eat first, the pilots can eat before the passengers or not, SIA management has come up with a ruling. The pilots may have their meals before the passengers, before the economy class passengers and the business class passengers. That means the pilots can eat before the business class and the economy class passengers uh, eat their meals. The only exception is that the pilots cannot eat or take the first class meals uh, before the first class passengers have eaten. In other words, they have to wait for the meal services in the first class to be over. Then they can have a choice of the balance, the leftover first class main course and the fruits. They cannot have the full works, of the first class menu, like a dinner menu, for example. The first class menu starts with the appetizer course, soup, followed by salad, and then the main course, or the main course, and then followed by salad and dessert, fruits, liqueur, beverages. The pilots cannot go through the full works. They are not allowed to. But they can have the business class meals, the meal tray, where they can have the main course and also some side dishes. So it's very clear cut, the ruling. So there's less dispute between cabin crew and the pilots. But sometimes it could be one or two pilots. They want to have special drinks, like they want the crew to make them ice honey water, to make this honey water. Yeah, we carry honey on the flight, but you have to stir and mix with the hot water, and then you put ice, and then blah blah blah, and then you serve them, and they could reject and say it's not sweet enough. So too much trouble. So the company says no. If the cabin crew wants to do it for the pilots, so be it. It's good if they want to. So maybe in the next video, I will talk more about this. Thank you very much.